Okay, Final Fantasy X2. After this one, I might take a break. I don't know. Because I think I'm at 192, which means if I do this one, I could stop here and do the other ones later. I don't even remember how many videos I have. If I'm at 194, this means I'll have 197, which means I probably will want to do the Final Fantasy 11 Ramble as well. Anyway, X2. I was always a little skeptical about this, especially considering, and if my brother ever watches this, I will bring it up right now. He had a friend who was, well, decidedly, I will say effeminate, if anything, but that probably wasn't his fault. It was, genetics and chemical imbalances, things like that. It's fine. But his association with this game made it even more possible that the guy was at least possibly metrosexual. I don't know. But either way, regardless of my speculations of the guy's sexual orientation and all that sort of thing, the fact that it was one of my brother's friends might have made me more skeptical, because usually my brother's friends didn't exactly recommend good games, or, well, recommend games usually at all, because my recommendations usually came from people my own age. If it was a friend younger than, with my brother's friends, I would be a little skeptical. He's younger than me and all that. But it took me a while, but eventually I took it upon myself to play the game. I think I actually originally was playing a different copy, probably my brother's friend's copy. And then eventually my brother gave that back to his friend, so we had to get our own copy. I don't know who bought it. That's beside the point. I played it, and I almost could not put it down. But then again, you'll probably rape me, or something, metaphorically, for consistently using strategy guides and playing these games. I played Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, and 10-2 with strategy guides, which I still own. Although, to be very honest, I had to purchase new versions for 7 and 10. That's probably indicates how much we actually enjoy those, although 10-2 is getting a little wrinkly and used, but that's alright. But on to 10-2, the initial thing you're going to react to is probably kind of how Spoony 1 reacted to it. You have Yuna as kind of an idol singer, and she's doing a big concert, and it's this twisted J-pop, and your first reaction is going to be probably, what the fuck? I mean, Yuna is doing this? What happened to her original personality? I mean, that was my reaction too. Because her personality, regardless of what point in the game it was kind of, in one respect or another, not so outgoing, and certainly would be the other drastic change. With a lot of Yuna fanboys or fangirls, the drastic change that's going to piss them off, or maybe even make them more interested, is her drastic change in fashion. In virtually every one of her outfits, it has become very much a more, shall I say, quote-unquote liberal fashion choices, yes. Because, she shows off more legs, shows off more midriff, as opposed to when she was in her summoner outfit, where it's just, okay, very kind of frumpy, but I guess, there are guys that very much see the idea of the priestess and that sort of thing, and they find that very aesthetically appealing or even attractive. I don't know why, but I don't want to question it, because it takes all kinds, as a very, very probably old person said. Anyway, on to more about X2 gameplay, and that is the dress sphere system, where essentially it's equivalent to being able to change your classes within battle, which is very nice, because unlike other Final Fantasy games that had job systems, this actually makes the whole job system more flexible, more possibly easier to use, because if you're able to, say, change from a black mage to a warrior, and you've spent the time to max out the warrior and black mage spheres, and you actually put on the right sphere grid, I'll get to that soon, you can actually possibly make the black mage or the warrior stronger than they were if you just started off as them. And with sphere grids, you actually have these little I'll call them transfer lines, that when you dress change from, say, a black mage to a warrior, or a black mage to a white mage to black mage, any number of combinations. There's about 12, 14 dress spheres, I believe, which would make you think, this game's gotta be short. No, it's just a very selective use of the dress spheres, because if you had too many, it would just be way too much time on your hands, and if you had too few, it would make the game very, very repetitive. Just if you had, say, only 6, it would just be boring. But luckily enough, they gave you a decent amount, but not too many. Not to mention, another point of this game is the gameplay percent complete thing. And I still have a game file. I imagine that if I went right back to it, took a little bit of time to get used to the battle system, I could beat the game again, show you the ending, and at the end it would say 100%. And this first time I said I went through the game, I think I got about 94%, maybe 96. It was nothing near complete, and I already knew that, mostly because I had been making mistakes in regards to what is a very, very OCD-ish kind of thing. You have to talk to people a couple of times, you have to get certain things out, you have to make the entire game go in a certain way, in a certain canonical, orthodox manner that might make you tear your hair out, that you aren't able to have an open-ended sense of playing through the game's story and have that sense of completion, because the game will tell you, oh, if you let this certain race of people get wiped out by this other race, then, oh, sorry, you don't get 100% completion at all. And not to mention the whole sphere break thing, which you supposedly actually have to play, but somehow I broke that little issue. You have to actually beat a sphere break tournament, which sphere break is kind of like other games that were in the other previous Final Fantasies. Like Final Fantasy VIII had Triple Triad, I think. Final Fantasy IX had Tetramaster. I don't think Final Fantasy X had any, which might have been a good thing. Although Final Fantasy X did have the Chocobo stuff. Not to mention that there are Chocobo things in Final Fantasy X2, just not so much. You'd really prefer Sphere Break, if you actually like math. That's the difficult part. I mean, there's all these things, I think, involving prime numbers, even odd numbers. It's very complex after a while. But the game is still enjoyable, even if you completely ignore completion. You can play through the game multiple times anyway, if only to figure out on your own, without a strategy guide, what things actually lead towards more completion of the game, what things decrease it, detract, whatever you want to call it. And also to just have, because you could play through the entire game. I have to wonder about that. There's that similar possibility with kind of how you did Final Fantasy X, in that there is a lot of customizability for the characters. You can have Yuna, Riku, and Pain just stick with their original dress spheres and probably, with some amount of difficulty, beat the whole game. I would imagine that would be one of the most difficult things to ever do, because, for instance, the Thief comes to be a physically limited character, as opposed to with the Warrior and the Gunner, who actually have some good potential for that sort of stuff. But regardless, it does allow you to have a lot of potential to have different ways of beating the game. Not to mention, it has a very, very nice connection to Final Fantasy X in terms of being a sequel, even though a lot of people might argue with me, and many other fans of it, I'm one of them, I'm a fan of this game, they would argue that it just doesn't work as a sequel because of the fact that it kind of ruins a lot of the relationships that were there, whereas I suppose I can complain about one thing, and it's not much of a spoiler. It's a point in the storyline told very early on. Lulu and Waka, yeah, there's the spoiler, that they get together. It's a big surprise. They get together, she's actually pregnant, and it's mentioned there's even these scenes that you would think would actually involve making a sprite that actually looks pregnant. And yet, what happens? They don't do a damn diddly thing with the sprite. They just make it look completely the same, maybe a little more mature looking or something like that because she's married, being a mother, that sort of thing, but nothing really changes. The only thing that makes you realize that this storyline is going on is that they have the dialogue, which is possibly one of the only things I can complain about. Even the supporting male characters are very cool, because I have a poster of them. Even though, not to mention LeBlanc, I don't want to get into LeBlanc, but you can tell, this game is up there with Final Fantasy X as one of my favorite games. But anyway, on to 11 next time, and that'll be the last one to upload tonight if I actually manage to get to it. Anyway, see you later.